and n is greater than 3 for the two-dimensional case, right? So in this case, in such a situation, right, these kind of serial manipulators are known as redundant manipulators. In such cases, the characteristics of these kind of manipulators is, for this case, where you have more number of equations than unknowns, this is a characteristic. More number of sorry, just 1 second. More number of unknowns than equations, right? And in such cases, very often you get an infinity of solutions. Now I'll just take an example. The example is the case of the planar 3R robot. Right? When we studied the inverse kinematics of this, what we did was we took x, y and phi to denote the position and orientation. If you remember, we calculated theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. We got some expressions for theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, and we were able to define accordingly what was the workspace. Now let us take another case, another variant of this problem of the 3R robot, right, where you don't want to consider the orientation of the last link. So case of no orientation. So essentially what the information we have is, this is no orientation. The information that we have is, let me just draw a 3R manipulator. This is first link, second link and third link, right? What we have is this x comma y, right? And from this information alone, we want theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. So instead of having 3 equations, we now have only 2 equations. That is, for example, x equals whatever, if you remember, it was something like this. Right? So in this case, we are given only x and y. Suppose we don't want to consider the orientation. So from x and y, if we want to do inverse kinematics, we have to get theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, right? So in this case, you can clearly see that there are more number of unknowns than equations. The unknowns are 3 and the equations are 2. So clearly we'll get infinite solutions in this case. So now to solve this, if you want a unique answer, then you have to find some way of imposing some constraint or some other expression we have to get a unique answer. So you need one more equation. Right? So in this case, what do we do in this case? What we try and do is, let me just open another, right? Right? I'll just write down the same expression. L1 C1 plus so on. Y equals L1 S1 plus so on. Right? Now you need one more equation. Now there are a number of ways of obtaining this, right? One of the ways of obtaining one more equation is we try to optimize a function of the joint variables. Optimize a function of the joint variables theta I. Now this could involve either minimizing the joint rotations, velocities and accelerations. This could involve in some cases to minimize the actuator torques, the torques that we are supplying over here to make these joints rotate. And in some other cases, this optimization function can also be to avoid obstacles. Suppose when this robot is moving and there is some obstacle here, we can impose a constraint that no link should touch this obstacle. So what I mean by optimizing, to find an optimization function, is that you are basically, to get this third equation, you are in some way putting a constraint or some kind of additional useful equation to resolve this redundancy. As I explained, if you have lesser equations than unknowns, then this is a case of redundancy. So in this case, what we are doing is we are trying to get some kind of useful expression by imposing some kind of constraint so that we get a unique value of joint variables. In a lot of cases, this may actually be necessary. Like as I explained, there are many obstacle avoidance problems in which if you have a robot like this, you will have many obstacles at A, B and so on. And you have to find some constraining values of the theta I such that this robot does not hit these obstacles. So some constraint, in most cases actually it is desirable to have, and in most cases you may actually need it. So just to give an example of what kind of schemes you can have to form these optimization functions, one of them which is very commonly used is to minimize the joint rotations, minimize theta I. So in this case what we do is we form a particular function, right, let us say something like this, and we try and minimize this function f of theta, right? So now essentially what we're getting is, you have one equation here which you want to minimize, right? This, let us call this as 3 for the sake of argument. Then another function you can get as, let us say some g1 of x as this equation here. I'm just rewriting this, minus x plus L1 C1 plus so on, and G2x as, now I'm writing this equation, minus y plus L2 L1 S1 plus so on, right? Now to minimize this function, before I go about this, I want to ask, has any one of you heard the word Lagrange multiplier?
Yes, sir.
Yes, can you explain in what context?
Optimization, constraint optimization. So you have an objective function and some constraints. Objective f and g1, g2 are constraints. So you have to do something like f minus lambda 1 g1 minus lambda 2 g2, and then take the derivatives.
Yes, correct. So here you can formulate the optimization function. Let us say some capital F of theta as something like this, f of theta minus lambda 1. Is this what you had learned?
Yes, I think we had this in MA 102.
Yes, sir.
He mentioned the method.
So this is G2 of theta, sorry, theta. Yeah. So this, what do you do next after this?
The partial derivatives with respect to theta 1, theta 2, and theta 3 must be 0, I think.
Yeah, correct. So partial derivatives of this with respect to theta is 0. So you'll get del f by del theta equal to lambda 1 del, this one, sorry. Something like this plus lambda 2 del G2 by, right? So this,
yes,
alternately, you can write, if you include write in matrix form, del f by del theta 1 del f by del theta 2 del f by del theta 3, then same here, del g1 by del theta 1 del g2, right, and so on. Equals 0. Now in what case will we get a non-trivial lambda 1 and lambda 2? I'll just write down here, these are the Lagrange multipliers. In what cases will we get a non-trivial lambda 1 and lambda 2?
When the determinant of the matrix is 0.
Correct. So I'll just, the determinant of this has to be 0, right? So I'll just make a mark here. Non-trivial solution. The determinant of this matrix, let us call this some M, has to be 0. So if you actually do this, if you actually sit and start, if you calculate for the 3R planar manipulator in this case, then you should get something like this. L2 theta 3 right? This is the third expression when you calculate what happens when that determinant is 0. This is the equation that you will get. So this combined with that expression for g1 theta, that is minus x, right? I'll just minus x plus L1 cos theta 1 plus L2 cos theta 1 2 plus L3 right? So you have 3 equations and 3 unknowns, right? So now we have to find a way of solving this, and in today's class what I'll do is I'll try and see if you can do this in MATLAB. How many of you have looked at that function fsolve in MATLAB? If you can just raise your hands. Okay, if you can please open MATLAB now on your own PC. As soon as you open MATLAB, just raise your hands so I know you're done.
Sir?
Yes, please tell me.
Why have we considered the function theta is theta 1 square plus theta 2 square plus theta 3 square?
It is not necessary to do that, but sometimes when you minimize the joint rotations, you are minimizing whatever torque is being supplied. So that is just one way of putting a constraint so that a unique answer we can get. It is not necessary. Certainly you can do it in other ways also. You can try and minimize the joint velocities. You can minimize the joint accelerations and so on.
And the Lagrange multiplier is to optimize that solution to find a unique one.
Yes, yes. So the Lagrange multiplier, if you see, yeah. So we are writing an optimization function f of theta that you can see here. This function here, right? This is the one that we want to optimize, f of theta, that is given by this one, minus some lambda 1 g1 of theta minus lambda 2 g2 of theta. These lambda 1 and lambda 2 are the Lagrange multipliers. Now when you if you remember the Lagrange multiplier method, then to optimize you have to get the partial derivatives of these terms on the right hand side to be 0, right? So when you do this, you get del f by del theta, that is this term here, equals lambda 1 into the derivative of this del g1 by del theta, plus when you take it on the other side, that is lambda 2 into partial derivative of g2 with respect to theta. This I have expressed in matrix form in this manner here, del f by del theta 1, because this theta is a vector of variables, it is not just one variable. So ultimately you have to express in a matrix form del f by del theta 1, theta 2, theta 3 and so on, and same for g1 and g2, and multiplied by a vector of 1 minus lambda 1 and minus lambda 2. Both of these are equivalent and this should be equal to 0. Then I have argued that for a non-trivial solution, when you have an equation of the form, right, something like AB, matrix A into vector B, right, or one second, into vector B equals 0, right? When you have such a case, a non-trivial solution you will get when the determinant of that matrix is 0. So based on that,
to theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, right?
Sorry?
We are trying to solve for the thetas, right?
Yes, yes.
And using this method, will we be able to get like lambda 1 and lambda 2, or exactly what are they, like arbitrary?
They are Lagrange multipliers. They are what we have to calculate. In this equation is to calculate lambda 1 and lambda 2. In the process of calculating what is lambda 1 and lambda 2, we are finding that the determinant of this matrix has to be 0, which means that we'll get some expression, right? Just one second. Something like this. When you take that determinant to be 0, you get some expression like this. Now this is the constraint equation. This is the constraint equation for optimization. When you solve them with the two other equations that we had, that is G1 and G2, you will get a unique value of theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3.
The det should be 0 for non-trivial solution means when we try to find lambda 1 and lambda 2, for them to be non-trivial, we need this z to be 0, right? To find lambda 1 and lambda 2.
Yes, you are right. I'll just go back. Yeah. I hope that was clear what I did. It was basically to obtain a constraint equation. So in trying to solve for lambda 1 and lambda 2, it has to satisfy the condition that the determinant of this matrix is 0. From that we'll get another relation between theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, which we can combine, right, with these two equations. One is this equation and one is this equation, to get a unique value of theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3. This is what I've tried to do. Everyone has opened MATLAB? There are still, I think, a few who have yet to open. Bharani and Karthik, you are having a problem? Martina, Bharani, can you hear me? Okay, apparently something is wrong with the line. Anyway, I'll just open MATLAB. I'll just share that. Can you all see this MATLAB screen here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the first thing you do is just create a separate folder on your desktop, right? I'll just do this here. So here I'm just creating a separate folder. Right? So first, to solve nonlinear equations, we are going to try and use that function fsolve. Right? So first, in the MATLAB code, I'm going to try and define the function file. This is known as a function file. You generally write it like this. Function sum f, you can put any name you want there, equals, and just give a name for this file. I'm just taking a random name.
Hello, sir.
Right? So this this is a function file with the name root, which is going to be called by another command. Now this function file I'm going to define first, right? And then I'll go to the main file where you'll have to type in a command that will call this function file defined by root. So to do this, first you have to save this, right? So just go to save as, and just go to that folder where it is there, optimization problem, and just save it as root. Whatever name you are giving here should be the same name as your file, right?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, by default, when we open the MATLAB window, we can just see the command window. Like, how did you open the editor file on top?
Yeah, so just create new document. You can see on the left hand side. New.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So we have to click on new and then where?
Yeah,
Script.
when you click on new script,
Okay.
control plus n, script. So you will get something like this, and there you can type in whatever I've typed. Function f equals root is some name I've given. Again, f is some name I've given. You can choose whatever you want.
Sir, can you again describe the method of saving?
Yes. So just go to save as, and go to that folder which you have created separately, and ensure that you are saving with the same name, that is root, whatever you are writing over here. So this is some function file which is supposed to be called by another command. First I'm writing the function file, and then I'll go to the main file where I'll issue that command fsolve to call this function file. Now this function file, you can see that it has an output given by f, and it is taking in an input, right, which is given by some x, right? So here what I'm going to do is, if I just go back, these, which is the equations that we have to solve. Yeah, these three equations, right? So in these three equations, can you all see this whiteboard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So first I'll just separate out what is to be calculated and what is given. What is given is x, y, or just so that there is no confusion, I'm writing xd and yd, right? Because in my MATLAB I'm using x as the input for this. So to ensure that there is no confusion, I'm just writing some xd and yd. We know what is L1, L2, and L3, and these three equations simultaneously we have to solve, right? So first let us write these three equations symbolically, right? So Now, as I said, the input to this function is some x, which comprises of whatever variables it is that we want to calculate for. So in this case, it is obviously theta 1, theta 2, and theta 3. And x is in the form of some vector containing these three values, which we are giving as an input to this function root, and which will give some output of f. So these are the inputs to this function file theta, and now I'll try and define the output vector also. Right, the output vector will obviously be these three equations which are defining the various functions. This is one function, this is another function, and this is a third. Right, so you can write down these three equations. Let us see what they are. So first I'll write this equation, g1 of theta minus xd plus L1 cos theta 1 right. This is the first function. The second was g2 of theta, that is minus yd plus L1 S1 plus L2 S12 plus so on. This is the second function I'm defining. Now the third function was this one. I hope all of you have made a note of it. L1, L2, theta 3, sine theta 2, and so on. This I had just mentioned somewhere, so I'll just take that. And after you have typed in those equations, just click save. It has to be in saved form. Just let me know when you have typed this. Just in case you haven't copied, this is the third equation you can see at the top.
So do we need a different toolbox for fsolve?
Come again?
I typed help fsolve and it is showing that fsolve requires optimization toolbox.
Xol.
fsolve.
No.
Yeah, it needs another toolbox. I installed it.
Yeah. Okay. Just 1 second. Then maybe 1 second. Can you install it? It should not take much time.
But we have to shut down MATLAB for that.
Yeah, but it won't take time.
Oh, 1 second. Optimization toolbox. Okay. I'll just explain it how to do it here. Perhaps you can do it. Perhaps you can try it after the lecture, after you download. This video is being recorded, I hope. Yeah. So after I complete this, maybe then you can install the optimization toolbox and you can apply it. It is a very short procedure, right? So just these, it appears many of you have not written. So this, what I'm trying to define in this function here is some theta1, theta2 and theta3, which are the input to this function file, and f of 1, 2, 3, the f vector is the output that is given by these three equations. So I've just typed them here. For example, you can see f of 1, the first function is minus xd plus L1 cos theta 1, L2 cos theta 1 plus theta 2. So it is just I've written something like this. That's all in the same form. Then what you can do is just click this plus sign. You will open a new script, right? And now you can write this. Now what is given to us is the value of link length and the value of x and y. So I'm just choosing randomly right now. Let us say that these values are given, that a value of x and y, the position is somewhere like this, given by 4 comma minus 5. Just assume randomly. L1 is 5, L2 is 3 and L3 is 1, right? Now I'm just going to show what is the syntax for this. In the case of fsolve, what it does is you have to give an initial guess. Initial guess you have to give for theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, and based on that guess it will solve the nonlinear equations. The initial guess, and this is where you may have to take, I'll tell you in this case what it is, but in other problems you may have to take a proper guess. So in this case I'm taking the guess to be something like this, the initial values. So this is a vector comprising the initial guesses of theta 1, theta 2 and theta 3, that is 0.5, minus 0.5 and minus 0.5. And then finally the function that actually solves this, the way to write it is now just you have to save this also, just save it as in the same folder. Just please keep this in mind. Just you can type, you can save it as main. right? And also you want the values that are here, this L1, L2, L3 to be read by your function file, because here also you have XD, L1 and so on. So what you do is you write something like this. This means that these values are basically global values and they can be read by any of the function files. So just click save here. Here also just type global XD, YD, L1, L2, L3. So with this initial guess, just you can run the program fsolve at root x naught. Just up here you'll see a run command, run, change folder. And you should get the values of theta1, theta2 and theta3 something like this: minus 0.27, minus 1.3 and minus 0.86. Do at least this much right now and let me know if you have any problem. If you're done, please raise your hand. So what this command is basically doing is it is calling this function root, which is and it is giving an input. This fsolve, this is a function file to be called, and this is the initial guesses which we are giving as input. Whatever the initial guesses. So the initial guesses of theta1, theta2 and theta3 is being given as input. And the function file, the function vector that comprises these three equations that have to be solved based on first this initial guesses, right? And then the algorithm runs and it will give you a final answer comprising some theta1, theta2 and theta3. So here in this root, f is the vector of the functions, and theta1, theta2, theta3, the initial guesses is what we are giving as the input.
How did you run the file, sir?
Over here there is run and you can run main, or you can click F5. F5 also will run. Click run, it will run. If it's the first time you're running, it'll I think prompt will come, something like that, which will say change folder. Just click on that. Basically, the first time you're running, it ensures that the program will first be in the folder in which the file you are running is there. So over there, you just have to click change folder.
Sir, I'm getting an error while running this. I'm getting the error that there is failure in objective function evaluation. Initial objective function evaluation.
Yes, sir. Same here.
Could you just share your screen? I'll stop sharing mine.
Shashwat, can you share your screen? Like, who had the error? I think Shashwat had the error.
This is my error, sir.
No. It is theta1 plus theta2, right? It is not. I mean, in when I wrote on the whiteboard, I just wrote in short form, but you have to write theta1 plus theta2.
Yes, sir. It is my theta1 2 is theta1 plus theta2 only.
Oh, you have written that. Okay.
Yes.
No, in the function file you have to define, right? That global command you have typed.
In the main script, I have written, sir, global command.
You have to write in the root also.
Oh. Above the function line or below it?
Below it. Save it.
Yes, sir. Wait, I close it.
Just go up again. Theta2 3 you have not defined. Unrecognized function or variable in that root file. If you just open it, there is a theta2 3. I think you have not defined that.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Sir, I minimize my command window and I'm not able to open it again. I don't know where it is.
Just 1 second. Yeah, just can you share your screen?
The command window was supposed to be.
How did you minimize it?
There was that button at the bottom right. I minimized it because I thought I'd be able to open it again.
I think if you run your main function, it will come up automatically.
No, I tried.
Oh.
Okay, I'm not able to minimize it once again. Just try closing it and opening it again.
Sir, it is the top right corner command window is there. After workspace.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Undefined variable. Just correct that. Yes, somebody has written you are getting different values of x. Different values of x.
Yes, sir. Like I have got different values of x compared with your x values.
Okay. Can
Sir,
you
there
share
was
your-
a typo in your third expression, I guess.
There was a.
There was a typing error. If you can open the MATLAB.
Yeah. Yeah, just 1 second. I'm just sharing this. Yeah. So where? This one here.
Yes, in F3 it should be L1 into L2.
L1, L2.
Yes.
Yeah. Was it these values?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
We are
sir.
getting these
Yes.
values.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine.
So can you? No, I got it. Sorry.
Yeah.
So in the main function, can you scroll down to where you have written x naught, that command? Thank you.
Yeah. How many have finished?
Sir, mine is showing an error in the F1 line.
Yeah. Just can you share your screen? Can you go to the root file?
So he hasn't it typed global in main.
Oh, in the main you have not typed global. That same thing you have to type. Yeah, those are the values. Now there are other variants also. Some things you can add. You can add tolerances and all these things. So what you can do is, if you want to read precisely all of these details, there is a section here. What is that? Yeah, on the right hand side top, I hope you can see this search documentation. Just type fsolve. Another window will open, right, where it actually solve system of nonlinear equations, right? So many examples are taken here. What I described was just one of the examples where it's a basic elementary. You also have this kind of syntax where you have fsolve function, initial values and options that will specify what kind of tolerances you should use and so on. So just go through all these ways of writing. All these syntax, you can just go through them, right? They have taken examples here also. They have taken plots also. You can plot. Another thing, now in this main file, this was for one given value of xd and yd, right? Now let us say that, all right, it's I'll stop now. We'll discuss tomorrow then. Is there anyone who up till now they have not been able to do? Please raise your hand.
Sir, can you explain like how you took a guess and why the guess is important?
In nonlinear equations, the problem is that unless you start at true zero, the algorithm will not converge to a solution. True zero means that whatever the actual guess is, the actual answer is, your guess must be start somewhere near the answer. It is a feature of nonlinear equations. If the initial guess is deviating far from the, I mean, it's a numerical method, right? Analytically, you can't. There is no way of getting it. Numerically, if you want to do, then you have to find a way of solving.
Are they guessing? Is the algorithm guessing the answers like close by the initial guess we have given?
The algorithm is taking whatever is our initial guess, because it's a numerical method. It's not an analytical method, and it is accordingly calculating. There is an algorithm that is behind this fsolve. And that algorithm is calculating based on this initial guess what is the actual value of the answer.
So does this fsolve also can be used to solve non-convex functions? Because I think only convex functions can be solved through this fsolve.
Come again?
So what kind of functions can fsolve solve? Because I think what they are doing here, like if you read the documentation, they are kind of doing something similar to gradient descent.
It can solve any system of nonlinear equations.
Any system, sir, even if it's non-convex in nature.
Yes, if you see I'll just show you what kind of examples they've taken. If you see, go to fsolve here.
Sir, but gradient for non-convex solutions, there will be many minimas and maximums, right?
There'll be
many minimums and maximums. So gradient solving will not be useful.
Gradient of what?
So basically, the function that we receive may not be subjected only to one global minimum. So there may be multiple global minimum. So based on our initial guess, we may get at least only one minimum, but that may not be the global optimum.
Oh, you're saying, you're saying you may get multiple answers for
based on our initial guesses.
Yes. That is certainly true. For some cases, yes, that is certainly true. But you will certainly not get an infinity of solutions. You have certainly avoided that problem.
Oh.
And if you remember what I had mentioned for the redundancy case, if you have more equations than unknowns, you will get infinite solutions. Certainly this you are avoiding. And as to the question of what kind of functions it can take, I hope you can see your screen here. Exponential functions also, sine, trigonometric functions, it can take, it can solve any one of them. So just in case you're curious that what will happen if your guess will change, just put another value, some very far away, just put 5 for example, and see what is happening. Right, it's giving some other answer. Can you see this? Could you all see this? suppose if I
Yes,
put 0.5 here, 0.5 here, the answer was minus 0.2. If I put 5.7. Right, depending upon your initial guess, it is possible. Yes, you can have multiple answers. Yes.
Yes, sir, because even if you read the documentation, it's saying it uses a hybrid method of steepest descent and Gauss-Newton method. So they will converge to local minimum only. So you will get different answers for initial values, different initial values.
Yes, maybe the value of theta 1 in this case, when you take the sine or cosine of it, I don't know if that comes out to be the same, but certainly the values of theta 1, theta 2, yes, you can get different.
Yeah.
You can try an experiment, just put different values in there and see what happens if you change the initial guesses.
We are getting different values, sir.
Yes, so that is perfectly possible. Yes, there certainly will not be an infinite value of solutions. That is sure. So all right, just go and try this at home. Just pick up any set of nonlinear equations and try this method for other nonlinear equations also. So right now I think it's well past time. I'll stop. We'll continue tomorrow. And just another thing, I hope you remember that the quiz 1 will be on Friday. It'll be from 12 to 2. What you basically have to do is I'll be showing what are the questions on Teams. Wherever you are, there you have to solve on paper, and you can either take a photo of it or scan it or whatever facility you have. You can do that and you can send it to me. You can send to me personally by mail or however you want to upload it.
Sir, how will you show the questions? Is it either on a video call or will you show the PDF at the exact time?
Yeah, if I just like I uploaded the assignments at 12 o'clock at that exact time, I'll just upload that PDF file. Or if not, if there is some issue, then by mail I can always send, or by WhatsApp. All options I'm keeping.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so all right then, you can log off. We'll meet tomorrow.